Today's lesson is Don't Forget, Simple Steps to Improve Your Memory. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to continue to talk about ways for you to improve your memory. And we're not talking about techniques like using the first letter of every word you need to memorize and making a word out of that. We're not talking about techniques like that. We're talking about general things you can do in your life to help you remember things better. And some of the things we talked about included physical exercise, healthy eating, and of course, getting sufficient sleep.
Yes, we have to do all of these things to have proper mental health, and mental health will lead to improved memory. So we're going to find out all about it in our article.
Mental exercise. In addition to exercising our bodies to bolster brain power and prevent forgetfulness, we can also exercise our brains directly. Researchers recommend stimulating the mind by reading, playing games, and learning new things. The more often we give our brains a workout, the better they will be able to recall information.
大家好，我们可以看到第一部分的单字 bolster， 这个字是动词，指的是改善或是提高。例如 Animals can be bred in captivity to bolster their populations. 动物可以借由圈养的方式来提升数量。又或者 Social media is a great way for movie stars to bolster their fan base. 社群媒体是电影明星巩固影迷群一个不错的方法。接着我们看到动词 stimulate， 指的是刺激、激励或是促进。举例来说 We hope that these new tax policies will stimulate the economy. 我们希望这些新的税务政策将会促进经济。又或者说Coffee is known to stimulate the nervous system. 众所皆知，咖啡可以刺激神经系统。再来，我们看到单字 work out， 这个字是名词，意思是身体锻炼或是体能训练。举例来说 I felt too sick to go to the gym for a workout today. 我今天不舒服，不能去健身房运动。又或者 Every day before work, Nora does a 90-minute workout that includes running, weights, and stretching. 每天上班前 Nora 都会先健身90分钟，包括跑步、重训和伸展。接着我们看到单字 recall， 它是动词，指的是记起、回想起或是召回。例如 Dave couldn't recall where he had parked his car. Dave 想不起自己把车子停在哪里了。或者我们可以说 From what I recall, the post office is about 2 blocks from here. 就我所记得，邮局离这里大约有2个路口。
Okay, so of course, last time we talked about physical exercise, riding your bicycle, lifting weights at the gym, riding on an exercise bicycle, maybe doing some rowing. Mike, do you get any physical exercise in your daily life?
Well, I try to get the bike out on the weekends when it's not painfully hot. And of course, the gym's nearby and I have a relationship with the gym. But I try to walk as much as I can. Taipei is great for walking, even if it is hot, because there's public transport everywhere. And, you can take a nice walk or have a U-bike ride around. So all of those things are good. But mental exercise is also important. And I would bet that more people have real trouble getting a proper amount of mental exercise. We have gyms for physical exercise and other ways of working out your body. But what about working out your mind? Well, the article says, in addition to exercising our bodies to bolster brain power and prevent forgetfulness, we can also exercise our brains directly. So yeah, we learned yesterday that running at the gym, lifting weights, getting your body moving and sweating is good for your brain. It moves blood around and that protects your brain cells. So that is good. Exercising our bodies will bolster brain power, as we read there. To bolster something, it's kind of like that word from yesterday, to reinforce, to make something a little bit stronger, to improve it, to make it better in some kind of way. You might bolster your ability in a language you learned a long time ago by reading a book in that language or watching some movies in that language. You're taking something you have or know, and you're just improving it, strengthening it, keeping it up, kind of maintaining it in some kind of way. So exercise can bolster brain power and prevent forgetfulness. And we can also exercise our brains directly. Yeah, you can actually give your brain a workout and not just rely on the benefits of your physical workout. How about a mental workout? So what are some of the things that we can do?
Yeah, it makes sense to exercise your brains, and some things you can do include the following items here. Researchers recommend stimulating the mind by reading, playing games, and learning new things. So this is what researchers recommend. Of course, if you recommend something, you tell someone what they should do because you have experience or you are an expert in that particular field. So researchers recommend that we stimulate the mind by doing various things. To stimulate means to kind of enhance things, to provide something that causes you to react in a certain way. So if you stimulate the mind, you can read books, or read Shakespeare or poetry or something like that. You can play games. I would assume it probably refers to games that you play with other people, like board games, or maybe even physical games like a game of basketball or something like that. Or you can learn new things like a language. In addition to learning English, you could try to learn, say, Japanese or Korean or Portuguese.
Yeah, those would all be very good ways of giving yourself a little mental workout. And the more often we give our brains a workout, the better they will be able to recall information. So if you're reading books, that's really good. Playing games. Of course, here we're not maybe talking about video games, but, puzzle games, card games, word games, things like that. And learning new things, learning new skills, new languages, anything like that that gives your brain a bit of a workout. I think also playing musical instruments. Learning a musical instrument would be really good too. And the more often we give our brains a workout, the better they're able to recall information. A workout, of course, yeah, when you go to the gym and you run and you lift things and you go on the stair machine and then you go on the back thing and you do the thing for your muscles, that's a workout. You're sweating, you're getting your heart rate up, you're working out your body, you're getting exercise. And if you do that with your brain, you will be able to recall information even better. To recall, it's kind of like to remember. You're bringing back something from your memory banks and putting it in a place in your brain where you can now access it and use it. You might recall or remember the first phone number you had when you were a little kid, or the name of your best friend in kindergarten, or you might have trouble recalling or remembering things. So we really use recall and remember in basically the same kind of way. And either way, if you work out at the gym and work out in the library or at home or wherever, both of these things will help you to recall and remember information much more easily.
Yep, so we need to give our brains a mental workout. And the more we give our brains a mental workout, the better you'll be able to recall or remember information. And yes, indeed, mental exercise can be used or can be completed on your phone. I don't like to encourage people to use their phones too much, but they can be beneficial. Of course, there are lots of games available for your phone that you can play, and they can give you a mental workout as well, instead of watching Korean soap operas or things like that. Okay, let's move on now to our next suggestion. It's all about focusing. Let's find out what that is about right now.
Focus. Try not to do too many things at once. The best way to ensure that we remember details is to focus on one thing at a time, devoting our full attention to it. If we instead try to multitask, we are more likely to forget things.
第二部分我们看到动词 devote， 它指的是投入、奉献心力或时间等，或是将点点点专用于。我们可以说 Samantha devotes most of her spare time to her studies. Samantha 把她大部分空闲时间奉献在自己的研究上。或者我们可以说 This room is devoted to old family photographs. 这个房间专门用来放昔日的家庭照片。
Okay, to focus. Okay, that means to concentrate on one thing. It also means to make something clearer if you're taking a picture of it. Some of you may have cameras that have manual focus lenses, and if you want something to be clear, you kind of turn the lens in a certain way in order to focus your subject so that it's clearer. But here, focus means to concentrate on information.
Yeah, so focus. This can actually help your memory and not just help you avoid making mistakes, which I think most of us would guess. It says, try not to do too many things at once. Wow, that's really interesting because a lot of the world is focused on the ability to multitask, right? You should be able to answer messages on your phone while tapping another message on your computer with another hand and watching your favorite Netflix show while also helping your kids with their homework. This is multitasking, right? This is what we should all be able to do. Well, you might be able to do it, but it's maybe not the best way to do things. It says the best way to ensure that we remember details is to focus on one thing at a time. Yes, one thing at a time. Not two, not three, not five. One. Devoting our full attention to it. So there you go. Focus on one thing if you're doing it and devote your full attention. To devote something is basically to give something over to a necessary cause or a good cause or something like that. You devote your life to the person you marry. Parents devote their lives to raising good children. Your boss might say, you have to devote your life to this company. And you might say, hey, that's a little too much. I need to devote my time to other important things. You're kind of giving it over in a voluntary way. You're not being forced to do it. You're just saying, this is important, so I am going to give over some time, some money, some energy, some part of my life to this important cause that I think is really, really worth it. So give your full attention to whatever you're doing. If we instead try to multitask, we are more likely to forget things. That's a really, really good point.
Okay, so to focus is the point of the second part of our lesson for today. Now let's move on to the next piece of advice we have for you, an organized workspace. Let's find out what this is all about right now.
An organized workspace. If your workspace is messy, it can make you less able to focus and more likely to get distracted. So make sure your workspace is clean and tidy by keeping useful items in specific places and getting rid of anything you don't need. In short, if you want a really powerful memory, consider your lifestyle and environment. Even minor changes in some common behaviors can make your memory better when studying for your next big test.
第三部分我们看到单字 messy， 它是形容词，指的是凌乱的或是脏乱的。例如 I've never seen a room as messy as yours. There are piles of dirty clothes and trash all over the floor. 我没看过像你房间这么脏乱的，地板上有成堆的脏衣服和垃圾。或者我们可以说 You should really clean up your messy room before mom gets home from work. 你真的应该在妈妈下班回家前，把你脏乱的房间清干净。最后我们看到片语 in short， 意思是简而言之或是总之。例如 In short, the report makes it clear that we must find ways to cut costs. 总之，这份报告清楚地指出我们必须找到降低成本的方法。
Okay, so again today, we've mentioned getting good mental exercise and focusing on what you're doing, not trying to do too many things at once. And now we're talking about having an organized workspace. Your workspace, of course, is where you work. It could be your desk at your office, but it could also be your desk at school or at home.
Yes, absolutely. So if your workspace is messy, it can make you less able to focus and more likely to get distracted. This is interesting. I would say this one is a little bit more personal because I know some people who really do very well with chaos, with a messy desk. And for them, organization just makes things harder because they forget where they are, whereas if they have a messy desk, they can see everything on the desk. So this might be a little more personal, but generally, I think it's true. If your workspace is messy, it can just make your life more confusing and more chaotic. If something is messy, it's not very well organized. We're not saying it's it's dirty. You might not have dust and coffee stains all over your desk, but it does mean you have lots of papers on your desk. There's piles of things. Things aren't organized and planned out and sort of put away in drawers and cupboards. Everything is just kind of laying out there. Teenagers typically have messy rooms. My mother would come in and say, if I can see the floor in your room in 20 minutes, then you won't be in trouble, basically, because it was just covered in books and sports equipment and clothes and other things like that. So it's not organized. It's very messy. So a messy desk can make it more difficult to focus and more likely to get distracted. When you're distracted, your attention is taken away from what you should be doing, and it's now on something else. Noises can distract you. Trying to multitask can distract you. If you're doing your homework and someone's like, hey, can I talk to you? And they won't let you go, you will say that they are distracting you. They're taking your attention away from what you should be doing.
Exactly. And I'm kind of with you, Mike. It kind of depends on the individual. This is kind of subjective here. Some people do indeed like to have an organized workspace. I do know people who have spotless desks at the office and they can't stand one little speck of dust. They will wipe it off if it's there. While other people have chaotic workspaces and they're very creative and they get things done. So again, it kind of depends on the individual. But here we're saying that an organized workspace makes you more productive and helps you remember things more. So again, if things are messy, they're not organized, and you'll lose focus on things and you'll get distracted. So make sure your workspace is clean and tidy by keeping useful items in specific places and getting rid of anything you don't need. There is such a thing as being too messy. So again, it depends on the individual. You need to have your workspace organized to a certain extent. Keep it clean and tidy. If something's tidy, it's organized, everything is where it's supposed to be. And again, you need to keep those useful items in specific places. If you're an architect, for example, and you're looking for a mechanical pencil to write plans for your next project, and you can't find that pencil, you're going to go crazy. What did I do with that mechanical pencil? I put it here a couple of minutes ago. Where the heck did it go? I need to finish this project. I've got a deadline. So indeed, you do need to know where things are so that you are organized.
Absolutely. So now we get to the sort of conclusion of this article, which reads, in short, if you want a really powerful memory, consider your lifestyle and environment. That's right. There are no sort of shortcuts to this, no magic memory pills that you want to take. It's really about your lifestyle and your environment. So this is the short version. That's why we say in short, to give you all of these ideas in a very simple way. Lifestyle and environment are the keys to having a really powerful memory. Even minor changes in some common behaviors can make your memory better when studying for your next big test. Yeah, it could be as simple as organizing your desk for 10 minutes before you sit down to do your work, or learning a new language, getting better sleep, changing your diet, going to the gym a bit more. All of these things are fairly simple, and if you do all of them quite well, you will see many benefits in your life. One of the main ones, of course, being a better memory.
And of course, a lot of these things are easier said than done. A lot of us have hectic lifestyles, and of course, it's very difficult to get more than 7 hours of sleep every night. We've got so much stuff to do. And yes, indeed, we're in a hurry, so sometimes we just don't have a good diet and we eat a lot of junk food. But yeah, make little changes here and there. You don't have to do everything perfectly. Just try to improve these things in your life, to focus more, to get a better diet, get physical exercise. Make small changes one step at a time, and eventually you'll be able to remember anything. You'll be able to memorize every word in the dictionary. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. It's time now to listen to our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分提到，我们越常锻炼大脑， 他们就越能够记住讯息。文中用到名词 workout 是指身体锻炼、体能训练。那我们把这个 workout 拆成片语work out 可以表达健身锻炼身体，尤其是指到健身房啊、上运动课程等等来锻炼身体。那当这个意思来解释时，它是不及物用法。像我们可以说 Henry works out at the gym twice a week. Henry 一周去健身房运动2次。好，那这边顺便介绍片语 work out 的其他用法。第一种呢，把 work out 当不及物用，还可以表达出以某种方式发生，或者是进展顺利成功的意思。例如 Their plan worked out perfectly， 就是说他们的计划进展得很顺利，非常成功。那有时候我们可能会听到两个人分手的理由是Things didn't work out between us， 就是说两人之间交往不顺利，交往没有结果啦。好，那么第二个我们可以用 work out 当及物用，这时候是表达想出或是解决，可能想出某个方法解决某个问题等等。例如 Don't worry about the problem, we'll find a way to work it out。 别担心那个问题，我们会找到解决办法的。接着读到课文第二部分最后一句 If we instead try to multitask,We are more likely to forget things. 反之，如果我们试图同时处理很多事，我们就比较可能会遗忘。那这边有2个重点，第一个是likely 当形容词，它是表达可能的，表示几率很高。那它前面可以加上 more、less 或者是 very 等等来修饰它可能的程度。那常用的句型就有2种，一个是 It is likely 加上 that 子句，其中的 that 可以省略不用。例如 It's highly likely that Ross will win the match.Ross 非常有可能会赢得比赛。好，那第二个句型是主词 be likely to 加原形动词，所以像刚刚的例句，我也可以把它说成 Ross is highly likely to win the match。好，在第二个重点是要介绍说，文中用到 multitask 这个动词，它表示同时做多件事情，处理多项任务。那字首 multi 或是念作 multi， 它可以表达出数个多方面或是数倍的那种意思。我们这边就来补充几个带有这个字首的单字哦，像 multicultural 就是多元文化的，Multicolored 就是多彩的、多种色彩的， Multimedia 是多媒体的，那么 Multinational 跨国的、多国的， Multilingual 是能通多种语言的、使用多种语言的等等。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Stimulate. The brief walk stimulated the patient's blood flow. Workout.Frank's workout included a 1-kilometer swim. Recall. I can't recall where I put my keys, Janice said. Devote. The doctor devoted most of his free time to volunteer work. Messy. Albert's messy room made his father angry. Distracted. Olivia was distracted from her homework by her favorite TV show.
Discussion starter starts now.
Here's our discussion starter for today, and the question is, which of the tips for improving memory discussed in the article would you like to try first, and why?
Good question. Well, I would like to try getting more sleep first because I've always had a problem sleeping. I can get my 5 or 6 hours every night, but often I wake up early, my brain kind of switches on, I start thinking about things. The good thing is I read a lot in that time, so I am reading, but I think, better sleep would give me all sorts of benefits, not least of which would be with my memory. What about you?
Me? Well, the first tip I would like to try is focusing. I've known about this for quite some time, that we need to focus on the matter at hand and not be distracted, but, well, I have not been practicing what I've been preaching or what other people have been preaching. So yes, indeed, I need to turn that phone off. Don't turn on the computer. Close the door, lock it, and just focus on what I'm doing. And hopefully that will produce results.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.